Born and raised Minneapolis, Minnesota. Spent my entire life there until I went to school. If I'm dyslexic, I never knew it. As a result of the way my eyes worked, I bought books for high school, all the textbooks. I bought books for college, all the textbooks there. Hardly ever cracked them because I couldn't follow the reading. I would have preferred to got the information that the books had, but I just couldn't stay concentrated. My eyes would go along a line and wouldn't pick up the next line. I'd have to go back again and read and almost put a finger on it to make sure that I got to the next line to carry on. My eyes started watering. If I did read a page or two, my eyes started watering, and it just, my mind wandered, and it wasn't comfortable even attempting to read a book for entertainment. And as far as a book for the information that in engineering you need, I had all I could do to dig out what I needed on those pages, write them down, and review my notes. That's the only way I made it through. And I was able to pass the courses successfully and get into college and get all the way through just paying attention to the instructors and reading the notes that I had taken, and somehow I made it. I wasn't the top of the class, but I managed to get through successfully. It was a good time. I had a girlfriend, we dated, we went to dances together, went to movies together. So life was good, even though I wasn't a reader.
Working on the Maytag, working on the Maytag. Boy, it's sure good to be actually working on a Maytag.
I interviewed as a college senior. I was interviewed by a company called Maytag, and they offered me a job in a small town somewhere in Iowa. And it looked like that was where I was going to go. But when the girl I was courting through college and was getting ready to marry, her father said, "Yeah, you can marry her, but you have to live in Louisville." And I didn't have a job in Louisville at the time. He said, "That's all right, you can work for me." And he was a businessman who had a lot of businesses going. He was primarily a seafood distributor. In Louisville, that sounds crazy. In addition to the wholesale seafood business, he had 2 seafood restaurants. He had 6 retail fish markets. He had a processing division where he cut, breaded, packaged seafood for retail and commercial distribution. It was a big business, and there was plenty of room there for me to start, and I started at the bottom. I swept floors, I drove a truck, I learned the business. I took care of the rolling stock, and I took care of what was going on in the plant. We had 7 freezers. I saw to it that they all were running. We had an ice making operation. We made our own ice, and I had a machine for that. We had an elevator that had to be maintained. I was busy doing a lot of things in the fish business that had nothing to do with the fish business. It was more maintenance than anything else, which was where I wanted to be anyway. So there were times when my father-in-law would look at me and said, "I don't need you in the garage all the time, come back over here." So I don't know, I probably didn't lean myself and learn the way I should have, but it wouldn't have made any difference. That business was doomed eventually, After 25 years in the business, my father-in-law died. I continued to run it. I had to shut it down. I couldn't run it. We lost money several years in a row, and it was better to shut it down than to just wind up with absolutely nothing. So I picked up my tools, and I told my friends that I'm now a repairman, and I could fix anything you've got in your house, from electrical to plumbing to carpentry work, even a little cement work. And I did all of that and started my own home repair business. And I continued doing that for over 30 years. I was still doing it way into my late 80s. Things changed when I married Gay. Well, religiously, we attend the same synagogue, temple in Louisville, and she was sitting in front of me through one of the Friday night services, and there's a lot of congregational singing that goes on, and I have always enjoyed that part of the service, and I was singing probably louder than I should have. And at the end of the service, this good-looking blonde in front of me turned around and said, "I enjoyed your singing." And I had no idea who she was.
I'm not a flirt, so I was not flirting when I turned around. I pay people compliments if I think they deserve them, and I thought, this man has a very nice voice, and I have really enjoyed listening to him sing, so I told him so. And I never expected to really see him again because it was a very large congregation.
But I asked the guy sitting next to me in an undertone, I said, "What's her name?" And he gave me her name, and I looked it up, and I called her, and I invited her to dinner.
He goes by Mickey Nathanson, or Mickey. I knew Mickey. I didn't know Marshall Nathanson, which was the name on the phone call. I thought, oh, well, it's just one of those prank calls, doesn't mean anything, so I paid no attention to it.
Unfortunately, she didn't recognize my caller ID and didn't respond to the message I left that I wanted to take her to dinner. So about 2 or 3 weeks later, after the services, we have what's called an oneg, which is a time when Jews have something to eat. And at the oneg, we were at the same table, and I said, "When are you going to go out with me?" And she said, "Whenever you ask me." And I said, "Well, I did." She said, "Well, you'll have to ask me again." And I didn't know who you were on that caller ID, so I made a date. We had dinner.
And we talked and talked and talked. And he gave me a book to read, which was a surefire way to my heart. His son had given it to him. I'm not sure he actually read it because he couldn't read books, but he gave it to me to read anyway. And it just progressed from there.
And things happened, and in very short order. And I'm telling you, very short order. In less than two and a half months, I guess, we were engaged and married.
I did not take the relationship that seriously because I was about to leave, and as far as I knew, Mickey was going to stay in Louisville. And we talked a little bit about his coming down to visit me, but that was it. He just was a really great guy, and I just enjoyed being with him. But one day he said, kind of out of the blue, "I'm going to move to Florida with you." And I really was surprised. And I gave him several chances to back out of it. And he kept saying, "I'm coming with you." So finally I said yes. And then I read the fine print for Shell Point and said to him, "The bad news is, Mickey, if you come with me, we'll have to get married." And he said, "Okay." So we did. That was the story. We took each other on faith, because at our ages, you don't have time to waste. You know, if you're going to have fun and interest and adventure in the last part of your lives, then you've got to go for it and not worry about, oh my God, what if?
So we'd been together a couple of years, and she noticed that I'm not reading books. And she's really a good reader, and she reads fast, and she reads a lot of books, so 2 or 3 books a week are nothing for her to go through. And she said, "Well, you ought to try it." And I said, "Well, I have trouble reading." And she said, "Well, that's when." She told me that she's had success all her life with her students, and there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to read.
It wasn't that they hadn't been taught to read, but either they had something like Mickey where words would flow off the page or sentences would run together, or they'd never found anything interesting. And with Mickey, I had tried the talking books from the library, and he really liked those. He'd used them before, but he started falling asleep while he was listening to them. And so one day I just said, okay, let's try the large print books, and bingo, that was it.
She decided that what I had was dyslexia, and that it was a mild form thereof, and large print books might be the answer. So it was a trial and error, but it worked. It was exactly what I needed. So the rest is history. She brought the large print mystery novels. I've started reading, and I haven't stopped. As a matter of fact, I got a book right here that I'm halfway through, and I just started it last week.
Oh, I absolutely love it. It is just so wonderful that both of us, I'll be lying on the couch and Mickey will be sitting at the table, and we both got our books. And we're just having so much fun reading, and then we'll talk to each other about the book, something going on. Even though it's quiet, it's very companionable. And I'm so proud of him. I am just so happy that at this stage of his life, he's doing a lot of different things, the woodworking, the pottery, et cetera, but he is reading books, and to me that is the creme de la creme. Well, I just feel like that's one of the best things that I have done as a teacher.
I give her full credit. It's the newest thing I've learned in my life, and it's great. You're supposed to learn something new all the time, and I've learned something new. I've learned to read. Got the first books from the library, and when I had gone through the first book, I carried it back there, and I explained to them that I'm returning this book, and I would like another one similar to it, because I'm just catching on to this thing. And they loved it there. There were 2 or 3 of the volunteers that run the Shell Point Library, and they said, come with me. And they took me to the part of the shelves that are just especially all organized with large print books, and I'm just having a ball. And every time I bring a book back to the Shell Point to get another book, they're all glad to see me. They say, how's the reading coming? And we've got some new ones here for you, and be sure to check them all out. So I'm very happy with the way Shell Point Library works. I signed up for it, got my own membership there now, and I can come and go, and it's great. Well, I don't know exactly how to put it, but this chapter of my life and I'm going to be 91 in 10 days. This has been really great, and I hope that it's a nice long chapter, and it's certainly been a pleasure here. I wouldn't have traded this for anything. Life is really wonderful.